Now, before we wrap up the end here, I have a little surprise for you, the listener. So my friend, Rich Hagon, you know him from the coverage, the hardest working man on the coverage team. Not close. That guy is absolutely essential to everything that you see that goes on the on the stream. He orchestrates a whole lot of the stuff that goes into it, and he does an extremely good job at producing the show from behind the scenes, along with Greg Collins. And one of the things, though, that he used to do, and this was part of the impetus for me even getting into podcasting at all, was that he would podcast. He would record audio-only clips from the Pro Tour. Now, this is when I was just first starting getting back into Magic, and I actually just didn't really even know what the Pro Tour was or how it worked. I just knew that it was the really good players playing. And, you know, learning the sets, and I would be walking down to the local game store, and I'd have that thing in my ear, and he would be just from audio describing a game state and what's happening. And I would just be listening to it where, like, I'd get to the store and I didn't want to take my headphones off and pay for my draft because I want to see what happened, you know? And that is really, really, really tough skill to have when you're doing, talking about a static environment like a game of Magic where there's cards. It's just cards sitting on a table, and he would make it like he would get the key points in, and he would talk about the things that needed to be talked about without drowning you out in details, and he would make it exciting. And I always had an appreciation for the way that he could do that just on the fly. And what happened at the GP was John and I, we played in a grinder, a 32-person grinder, to try to get our second bye. We had one bye thanks to Zame. And we ended up meeting in the top 8 or whatever, like basically the quarterfinals, where we played against each other. And we weren't quite sure, you know, how we were going to handle the situation, but we decided to play the match regardless. And as we were doing it, Rich was kind of hanging around, and he's like, "Here, give me something to record on, and I'll commentate the match." And we're just like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah." So I gave him my iPhone, and he actually did coverage of our match. And, you know, it was for fun, right? Like, it was it was just a little grinder, 32-person deal, but it was super cool. And I'm going to put that audio right after the outro music. So it's going to do that, and then you'll hear Rich's coverage of John and my's match. I thought that was really fun, and it'll be a treat for you guys as well. Okay, that's it. What?
Yeah.
John?
No spoilers. Just listen to it.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil. Yeah. Okay. So as always, thanks, Sam, for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time and the insight, and also just for being a great teammate down at the GP.
No, I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun, and sometimes I can be on again. So.
Yep. Cool. All right. So until next week, guys. Make sure you check out the coverage of Pro Tour Seattle. It's going on this weekend. Formats are Modern and Draft, just 2 sick formats. Should be a ton of fun. Otherwise, I will hopefully talk to you next week.
And that's our cast from A to Zame. When you shuffle up 40, it's never the same.
Oh, God.
Just to see how wrong I could be if I was a painter and paint all my rainbows in different colors.
Hi everybody, it's Rich Hagon here, reporting live from San Jose, California, where we are into the top 8 of one of the 32-man single elimination grinders, and we have an incredible top 8 matchup for you. It is the quarterfinal between John Lout of Limited Resources and Marshall Sutcliffe of Limited Resources. We're going to give you the play-by-play, and it begins with a Rakdos Shred Freak on turn 2 for Lout, who attacks with the 2-1 Haste Man. On the other side, it's Keening Apparition for Marshall, so already we can tell it's black-red against green-white. As we see Forest and Plains, and the Shred Freak and Keening Apparition are going to trade. The Keening Apparition will not be hanging around waiting for any enchantment to potentially get rid of. Louts now runs out Rick's Mardi Guildmage. What a great card that is. He's also got an Izzet Guildgate out. That was his turn 1 drop, the ideal turn 1, of course, because it comes into play tapped. and that Guild Mage is incredibly powerful. Of course, if you lose life, then it can make you lose more. If anything gets in the way, the blockers get -1/-1, and it's a repeatable effect. Very powerful. He's also now added Lobber Crew, the 0/4 defender that can stack up to a lot of damage, particularly depending how many multicolored cards you're playing. Sutcliffe just got 4 land in play at the moment. The Rick's Mighty Guild Mage comes in just for 2, no pumping as it were, but now Louts is going to add 1 to the damage, lose 1 more life, and he passes with 3 mana open and his Lobber Crew now ready to go to work. And ping at the end of turn, that is Marshall down to 12 life, and with 5 land, still no play from Sutcliffe. You have to feel that there's going to be something like Eyes in the Skies coming, maybe. Here comes Tenement Crasher, the 5/4 haste for 6 mana. So now in comes the Guild Mage and Tenement Crasher. It all comes in. Marshall is down to just 5 life, and he is in desperate trouble here. All he's played in this game is Keening Apparition, and of course he has a stack of cards. He's got 6 cards right now. He's going to run out another Keening Apparition with 4 mana open, but he is facing a ton of trouble. Lobber Crew, Rick's Mighty Guild Mage, Tenement Crasher. He's now down at 4. Louts has 3 cards in hand. He taps 3. And then just looks like he's re-examining his mana. 1, 2, 3, 4. And no, for 3 mana, it's going to be Rakdos Key Rune. He's then going to use that. And he's going to say Traitorous Instinct for the Keening Apparition. Marshall shows 4 land, and so that was a total of 10 land and 3 spells for Marshall Sutcliffe. And those were extremely limited resources. Game 1 to John Louts.
I think I'm already pre-boarded for you. I just realized
So, through the miracles of audio technology known as Marshall Sutcliffe's phone, we are into Game 2, and Marshall, unsurprisingly, is on the play. He opens with Plains and Forests, and turn 2, it's Gorehouse Chainwalker for Louts, so of course he unleashes that as a 3/2, cannot block. Meanwhile, big turn 3 play from Marshall, it is the Loxodon Smiter. He didn't hang around, can't be countered, not that Louts would have anything to do that with. 4/4 up against the 3/2. So now Louts will have to go slightly slower. He lays Sewer Shambler, the 2/1 Swamp Walker, with Scavenge, pretty efficiently scavenged. To be fair, only 3 mana for that. And Marshall wastes no time sending his Loxodon Smiter into action. 4 mana now, and it's going to be Armory Guard. Again, defenses, shields well and truly up. It's 2/5, doesn't have Vigilance right now because he doesn't control the gate. But we go back to Louts, who is currently a little bit underpowered, but he has a very good turn 4 play. It is the Bloodfray Giant, the 5/4 Trampler. He's given it Unleash, therefore would have been 4/3 Trample without the Unleash, the ability to block. So he's decided, no, I want to be aggressive. I want to get in there. So he is currently only the Sewer Shambler back up against Loxodon Smiter and Armory Guard. And I can tell you that Sutcliffe's 5th land is good on double 2 levels. First of all, it's given him access to blue mana, but not this turn, and that gives you a clue that it's come into play tapped. It is the Azorius Guildgate. So he has access to a blue splash if he has any. More importantly, that Armory Guard, the 2/5, now has Vigilance. So he looks and contemplates his move, and he will send them both in, turning the Smiter sideways and the Armory Guard just nudging forward across his very lovely RTR Steam Vents playmat. Louts, utilising the high technology of the table here in San Jose, will, as expected, put the Sewer Shambler in front of the Loxodon Smiter. He'll take 2 damage, and now the Scavenge is available for 3 of his 4 mana currently to potentially go onto the Bloodfray Giant. But we'll see what he does with this as he looks at 4 mana, Gorehouse Chainwalker as a 3/2, Bloodfray Giant as a 5/4 against the Vigilant Armory Guard and the tapped Loxodon Smiter. 5 cards in hand for Louts right now. So we'll wait to see whether he's going to lay land number 5 or do something with his Sewer Shambler. Let's see what he does. Flicking the 5 cards over and over, Sutcliffe the same, and trademark baseball cap. And these two playing for a place in the top 4. Remember, buys for the winning team in this 5-round event. Single elimination, 32 play here on the eve of Grand Prix San Jose. Some incredible players coming your way over the next couple of days, which by the time you hear this will be a few days ago. But boy, are we excited about this one. So
I don't know. I want to be.
That's finally does lay land number 5, 3 mountains and 2 swamps to go with his 2 unleashed men. Sutcliffe didn't play anything after that Azorius Guildgate, so has the potential for trickery. Sewer Shambler is going to be scavenged to put more counters on Gorehouse Chainwalker, and now Pursuit of Flight goes on to Bloodfray Giant, and in we go. Louts is in with a 5-4 Gorehouse Chainwalker now, and the Bloodfray Giant 5-4, but with Pursuit of Flight 7-6. 7-6 trample and 5-4. That's a lot. And now with that Sewer Shambler going, it's like, yeah, okay, if I take all of that, that's 12 damage coming through all the way from 20 straight down to 8. So in the blink of an eye, Marshall Sutcliffe no longer the beat down in this one, it seems. He now has a 2-5 and 4-4 apparently on D. Lance, we know, had the Izzet Guildgate in the previous game to give him access to blue mana. Currently he cannot make his Trampler fly with Pursuit of Flight, requires a blue activation. Can't do that, but obviously has the threat of that lurking around. Marshall counts up his mana, it's up to 6, he's laid a land for the turn, has access to that blue splash should he want it. Of course he may just be running the Guildgate to turn on assorted cards like Armory Guard, but we'll see how that pans out. Haven't had a chance to look through his whole deck yet. Marshall does not like the look of where this is heading. We do know that he has a Swift Justice in his deck. We saw that in game 1. He didn't actually play it, but it was in his opening hand. So that could potentially help him out. But if he ever gets to the point of being able to make Pursuit fly, now this is bold. Now you may have heard John go, wow, because the Smiter and the Armory Guard have attacked. And now Marshall will add the new Prav Guildmage, can give flying and it can grant detain. And now that's a good card from Marshall. It's Centaur Healer, so that's a 3-3 and he gains 3 life. He goes back up to 11. The new Prav Guildmage, there's blue activation for you, and blue to actually cast him. Blue-white to make 2-2. Blue-white gives something flying, and for 5 mana, detain. So that gives him the opportunity to say that none shall pass. So back we go. Louts can't block with either of these guys. They've got counters on, remember, so they have been well and truly unleashed. So they are coming in. Marshall is all but tapped out, just got 1 white mana available. Louts 6 mana right now, black and red. Have you played a land? So yes, so we know that 6 is the total. There's not going to be anything else coming along. So Marshall looks. He has potentially 3 blockers. Centaur Healer that's already done its work by gaining him 3 life back up to 11. Armory Guard the 2-5. New Prav Guildmage the 2-2. He'd like to keep the Guildmage alive because then he can detain the Trampler moving forward. That will surely be his plan. But right now he is facing down lethal damage, so something will be getting in the way. He's starting to move his creatures around his part of the battlefield. He just confirms that the Trampler, the Bloodfray Giant with Pursuit of Flight on, is 7-6. 4-3 is its base. Give it Unleashed, that makes it 5-4. It's already trampled. Pursuit of Flight +2/+2. Blue activation to give it flying. So right now it's more Pursuit than Flight. So Marshall looking at a possible double block with the new Prav Guildmage and the Centaur Healer on the Gorehouse Chainwalker. That currently would be him representing a 2-for-1 loss, and then taking all the damage potentially from the 7-6. The new Prav Guildmage would die as part of that 2-for-1 trade, so Marshall's like, well, okay, if I let that through, I'd be at 5, I could be at 6, none of that sounds good. He's going to have his Loxodon Smiter no matter what, because that's currently not involved in any way in this combat, having attacked and tapped last turn. So really are at the pivotal moment here in this game too, with Louts, remember, 1-0 ahead in this one, and he continues to look at the board with just 1 white mana open. Centaur Healer, Armory Guard potentially going somewhere, and new Prav Guildmage potentially chump blocking the Gorehouse Chainwalker. And now he goes back to the double block. It must be time to make a play soon. Much longer, this will be like one of their pre-release shows. Let's see how we go. And here we go. Armory Guard gets in the way of the Blood-Free Giant. The Centaur Healer gets in the way of Gorehouse Chainwalker. And that's a chump block for the Chainwalker. And so 2 damage comes through, trampling the last 2 points over the Armory Guard. The new Prav Guildmage stays alive. That's a big turn, one would think, for Marshall. And then Loxodon Smiter is still there, waiting to happen. So what does Louts do with the rest of his turn? It's 5 mana, and it is the uncommon 5/3 Spawn of Rixmardy. And if you're thinking, isn't that a 6/4? Only if you unleash it, and he did not unleash it. He's left it as a 5/3. So 5/3 back as a blocker potentially to trade with the Loxodon Smiter. So Dos Cardos, that'll be 2 cards in Brazilian. And so Marshall will look at 1, 2, 3, 4 cards in hand. He's got all his mana open. Now the player with just 1 mana open is Louts. And he's got Marshall at 9, but Louts is at 8. Marshall found a way to keep his new Prav Guild Mage alive. He's going to lay another Azorius Guildgate, and he's going to pass the turn with 6 mana open. So back we go to Louts. Still no blue mana to make it fly, make his Blood-Free fly. He's got 3 cards in hand now. Spawn of Rixmardy, the 5/3. Declare attackers, and Marshall now is going to spend 5 and detain. So there we go. The Blood-Free Giant is detained. That leaves the 5/4 Gorehouse Chainwalker and the 5/3 Spawn of Rixmardy. You probably heard a loud noise there. That's from one of the other quarterfinals where someone didn't seem happy. And Marshall is going to put the Loxodon Smiter in front of the Gorehouse Chainwalker. They're going to trade. 5 damage comes through. That puts Marshall down to 4. So, Sutcliffe at 4, Louts at 8. Just a new Prav Guildmage in play now for Sutcliffe. That's keeping Louts' Blood-Free Giant at bay. And they're just thinking about Angel of Serenity, which presumably they were playing earlier in between rounds, so presumably they're aware that Marshall has Angel of Serenity in his deck. Let's see what Louts comes out with. It is another Spawn of Rixmardy with no unleash, but time is running out again for Marshall Sutcliffe because he has to keep 5 mana back in theory for the Blood-Free Giant. Marshall tots up his mana. It's up to 8 mana. If he has Angel of Serenity and can cast it, he will be able to eliminate all opposition from the Louts side of the board right now here in Game 2 of the quarterfinal of Grinder number 417 here at GP San Jose. Marshall Sutcliffe pondering his options. 1, 2, 3 mana taps now. It's another Centaur Healer. He's going to go back up, and that's interesting because yeah, as John says, he'd have unleashed one of those Spawn of Rixmardy if he'd known that there was going to be a 3/3 getting in the way, because right now one of those trades, but this looks like a big moment. It's Tenement Crasher, the 5/4 haste man for 6. Who knew that was going to be good? Marshall, in response to declare attackers, is going to detain the Blood-Free Giant, but everything else comes in. Centaur Healer trades. New Prav Guildmage gets in the way of Tenement Crasher. Crashing in is the other Spawn of Rixmardy. Everything's dead for Marshall. He has access to Supreme Verdict mana. He could do with it. He has access to Angel of Serenity mana. He could do with it. He's drawn. What's he got? 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's going to cast Inspiration to draw 2 cards. That doesn't sound like good news. Now he's looking. It's 3 land. And in the end, they weren't unleashed, but they were big and fat enough. And John Louts advances to the semi-final of the Grinder, here with exclusive commentary on your Limited Resources podcast, sponsored by Card Kingdom.
What's that? Thanks for not playing bombs like our bottom.